Hi, I'm David Manti, and welcome to a new episode of the Today in Manufacturing podcast. With me this week are Jeff Renke and Anna Wells. We're the editors of Manufacturing.net and Industrial Equipment News, and we each have more than 20 years of experience covering the manufacturing industry. Each week, we take the top stories in manufacturing and discuss the implications they have on the industry going forward. But before we get started, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You could also help us out a lot by leaving the podcast a positive review on whatever platform you use. If you want to email the podcast, you can reach any of us at Jeff, David, or Anna at in.com with email the podcast in the subject line. You could also subscribe to us on YouTube at IN Magazine so you can get a notification whenever we go live. And Jeff, we're going live again. Things getting back into the swing of things. It's closest to normal we've been in a few weeks.
Absolutely. No, it's good to be back on schedule.
Yeah, how you been?
I'm good. Dave, thank you so much for asking. Appreciate that. It's good to know someone cares.
You're welcome. And it's close to the new normal because, we did a couple of episodes with the top three and we were just like, hey, that's not that bad. Let's give that a shot again.
Yeah, let's do the top three.
Yeah.
It's 3 stories.
That's
so many stories. Yeah.
It's still a lot of stories, the top 3 in manufacturing.
Yeah.
And so we're going to work with this format change a little bit, see what everybody thinks. And if you have any comments, please reach out to any of us at Anna, David, and Jeff at in.com. How you been?
Good.
Yeah. It was, it's so rare that that you travel for like a week at a trade show. And it's just like getting back into that normal day to day. You're like, woo, it is a grind, but my feet feel better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know. Like that, the first day of not being at a trade show and you're just like, ooh, real life. Yeah. This is better.
Just like I'm not in perpetual motion. Mm-hmm. And it's like there's got to be a middle. I feel like the middle is a healthier spot to be. All right. We have a word from our sponsor. This week's episode is brought to you by Blumira. Manufacturing continues to be the most highly targeted sector when it comes to cybersecurity attacks. Hackers are getting smarter, and the key to combating these ongoing and evolving threats is understanding them. The good news is that the good guys are getting better at spotting the bad guys and showing you how to fight back. So watch this short new video, Manufacturing's Most Concerning Cybersecurity Trends, to learn about the latest hacking, like how supply chains and logistics services are coming under fire, and how you can negate these vulnerabilities. So download Manufacturing's Most Concerning Cybersecurity Trends right now. There is a link to it in the live chat. There's a link to it in the body copy. Our first story this week. Jaguar fires design chief behind Rebrand. The big cat's claws have come out. Earlier this year, a catastrophic cybersecurity incident led to significant downtime for Jaguar Land Rover. Before that, Jaguar shut down production to switch internal combustion engines to EVs. Likely the biggest change for JLR came in late 2024 when the company rebranded to promote a, quote, new era for Jaguar. The company ditched the animal hood ornament as part of a completely reimagined brand. Jaguar wanted to become, quote, truly unique and original with an ad campaign that was big, bold, and beautiful, but didn't feature cars. A month later, Jaguar unveiled the Type 00 concept, the company's future. The design was a departure by design, but rubbed some the wrong way. Well, now, Jaguar's longtime design chief, Jerry McGovern, designer of the 00, has been fired. McGovern was responsible for creative direction of all of the company's brands and played a, quote, major role in the new Jaguar. If you recall, PJ Balaji recently took over as CEO, and the shakeup could be part of a regime change. McGovern was also the driving force behind Jaguar's attempt to make more expensive and more exclusive cars, trying to compete with the likes of Bentley. Anna, McGovern was with the company for 20 years. I mean, is this to you a last straw sort of situation or part of a larger executive overhaul?
I'm not exactly sure. If we look at all the things that have happened with JLR in the last year or two, many of them outlined in this article, they've been through a lot of like really difficult scenarios. That cybersecurity breach being a big one for them, but like also production delays, this marketing snafu, all this stuff. And then of course now you have this new CEO. So there are lots of things that I think it's very easy to look at and point a finger and say, this is the reason that this is happening. However, I don't know if it has anything to do with the rebrand. The more that I think about this and look at this, like if you look at what PJ Balaji, the new CEO, said in the media, and this was like when he took over in, I think, August or September timeframe-ish, he was quoted as being like really defending the rebrand strategy.
Right.
He was talking about how we've put our plans together. The cars are being revealed. They're getting an exciting response from the customers on the ground. And then he said, quote, therefore, that is what the strategy is. But according to reports like Jaguar, when they went into this, they were preparing, this is documented, they were preparing to lose 85% of their legacy customers on this new strategy. Jeez. That was their plan. Yeah. They were looking for a new, younger buyer. And so they were trying to compete with, as you said, the Bentleys of the world, add a little flash to the brand. And that was their strategy to kind of move forward in a market that maybe they're, you look at what happened with Harley Davidson and how they had a specific demographic buyer. And that has been so challenging for that company to move out of that. You almost need to see them do something big enough to attract this other demographic. That was their plan.
What was that percentage?
85%.
That is crazy.
I know. And so it's like, to me, it seems like this was simply a design boss carrying out orders. This was a company strategy. This was not just like one rogue employee that sent Jaguar down like a rabbit hole. That's not what's happening here, right?
Yeah.
So I think if this was this, if that's the case, right, then it's hard for me to believe that that is the reason, unless they wanted to make a scapegoat or create a sacrificial lamb, in which case, why not say that then and take ownership of it instead of saying nothing, which is what they have done so far. And so I think the thing we need to watch next is, does Jaguar shift course now?
Yeah.
And if they do, then maybe that is the plan, to kind of, someone has to take it on the chin and they're going to go off in a different direction. But if they don't, then I think this might be about something else. I mean, the report said that he was escorted out of the building.
Yeah. This
was not some mutually agreed upon wind down. This was not a retirement. This was like maybe a contentious situation is what it looked like. And then, lastly, what I would say is Jaguar has they have their work cut out for them. Like ditching 85% of your customer base in any kind of economic environment, like at least a stable one, that is a challenge enough. That is like a big deal. Now, if you look at trying to sell luxury goods to completely new buyers when we know the economy is a little bit wobbly, we know consumer sentiment is a little bit down, maybe this is a harder prospect for them this year compared to last year. Maybe the fact that the landscape for EVs has changed entirely and they've put a lot of eggs in the EV basket. Maybe that also changes things for them this year compared to last year. Maybe they are on the cusp of a big change, but I don't think that McGovern was the catalyst for this change. I think this was Jaguar as a corporate entity doing this.
Well, and it's right now the economy is down, but what do they call it? A K-shaped economy. And Jaguar is definitely going after that top part of the K.
Yeah, true.
So maybe their target market isn't seeing such a slump. The other thing is, that's what's perfect about a scapegoat. That's you wrap everything around that scapegoat.
But then say it.
Then you sacrifice it, and then you're like, no, all the bad went out. Don't worry about it. Don't even look over here for a while. And it's and sometimes, unfortunately, that's enough for some. And but it's very troubling. I saw that same report. It was an unconfirmed report from Autocar saying that, quote, escorted out of the office. We're talking about a 20-year vet that has led your design team. And I get it. If you're throwing out the baby and the bathwater, like everything's got to go. Like they were just short of walking out with a kitchen sink just for the photo op. Jeff, when you look at this situation, McGovern was behind many successes, right? The MGF, the Range Rover Evoque, the new Defender. And as a design chief for an automaker, you're going to have wins, you're going to have losses. And it's just really unfortunate that somebody has been such a steady member of Jaguar Land Rover kind of being shown like a somewhat disrespectful end.
I think this is sort of a great example of the fact that Jaguar has a lot of problems right now. Okay, let's go back a couple decades. First of all, this company has changed ownership multiple times. They haven't had a huge sales issue as well. Sales have continued to drop off. Part of that is because of the competition that you mentioned, but also because there's been reliability issues. It's a fickle car. It has a reputation as being kind of difficult at times to maintain and keep going. Okay, so that leads into a sales problem. Well, why aren't you selling more cars? Well, it's got to be marketing. It's not the vehicle. It's how we market it and how we present it. And I think that's where a lot of these companies miss the core element of what they need to address here. It's not just the branding. It's also the product that you're putting out there. And all of this focus on the design and not showing a car in the advertisements and all of these other things, I think are really sort of sidestepping the bigger issue. You don't have a better product.
Yeah.
If you want to sell more of them, be better. And you know, they're trying to do all these things, and I think it breeds into this lack of clarity that surrounds this organization right now. We've talked about tariffs all year. What's the biggest issue with tariffs? People don't know. There's this uncertainty in terms of what does this do to my supply chain? What does this do to my pricing model? What does this do to my different costs for materials? Well, when you're a company that was going to shut down for a year, switch over to all electric vehicles, hit by a cyber attack that cost you over $700 million, there's got to be a lot of what are we doing now?
Yeah.
And when your response to that is to fire somebody who's been there for 20 years and say it was his fault, that does not breed a lot of momentum for your customers, your internal partners, anybody else that you're involved with. So right now, I think that this was another very shaky move by Jaguar. They're not addressing the real issues. Yes, you need to get a consolidated brand identity, which they're also lacking right now.
Yeah.
But make better vehicles. Like they're missing the crux of what the problem is here. These sales problems didn't just pop up overnight.
Well, and the Autopian, which I was reading a report out of there, which did describe the Type 00 as a brick excrement house of a car, said that Jaguar had to do something to rescue the brand. Do either of you think that this is the move that rescues a brand?
How can it be? I mean, they're not trying to beat this into the ground, but again, they haven't addressed the actual vehicle. I understand they want to switch over to EVs, which could make sense.
Yeah.
But you also need to listen to the customer and the things that they're complaining about and address those things. You want to turn over 85% of your customer base. That isn't the same scale as a Chevy or a Ford or even Mercedes or something like that, because there's a lot less Jaguars on the road. But from your own operating perspective, that is a huge amount.
Yeah.
That is a huge number. And to do something as dramatic as they did and get the negative feedback that they got tells me that they were not listening to their stakeholders and their customers or the new customer base that they were seeking in the first place. So getting rid of one person and making all these headlines for it, because as you mentioned, the guy's been there forever. He's had a lot of success. This just seems to feed the fuel of going the wrong direction here.
And I mean, to that point, Anna, in terms of going the wrong direction, a year from now, when we're recording this podcast, is there a Jaguar Land Rover, or are they on a path towards like maybe the company as it exists now is wholly different in a year's time?
I don't know how to predict that. I do understand in a very competitive field like auto and luxury auto, finding that you need to differentiate yourself. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, is this the right way? Like to Jeff's point, are you doing this instead of focusing on quality issues or issues that are maybe more important to your customer base or your prospective customer base that you don't have yet?
Yeah.
I don't know, you know? So it will be interesting to see, but I do want to make clear that like JLR did not say that McGovern this was the reason that he lost his job. They're not blaming him for this, the trajectory. No one has said a word about it.
Correct.
So we don't know. We still don't know why.
Right. We don't know the exact cause. The only reason I asked that question about does it exist in its current form is because as we have tracked the comings and goings of auto companies over the years on the podcast, this seems to be part of that arc, where it's just like change everything, including personnel. And then just at the end of the day, you wind up running out of things to change again. And sometimes there's much more severe change.
True. But I mean, on the other hand, if you look at a Harley Davidson, there's been a lot of
really good point.
criticism on the other end of that, saying like they were too slow to catch up with the market demands. They got behind on demographics, and they are still digging themselves out of that, and they're trying to target that younger buyer, and they're way, way, way behind.
Yeah.
You have to figure out a plan there, and maybe each of them is too far on one end of that. I don't know.
That's a really good call. All right, our next most popular story this week. A rare Corvette engine resurfaces in original packaging. When the new Corvette launched in 1984, General Motors was feeling pressure to stay ahead of supercar efforts from Honda and Toyota. So in 1993, according to the National Corvette Museum, GM unveiled the Corvette ZR1, the fastest production car on the road. What made the ZR1 special was the LT5 engine, an aluminum double overhead cam V8 developed by GM in collaboration with Lotus Engineering. The new engine cost a lot to develop, but GM believed it would benefit the company in the long run. The LT5 was so special, it demanded sophisticated assembly. GM actually contracted with Mercury Marine, which built the motors at its Stillwater, Oklahoma plant by hand. While Mercury typically built engines for speedboats, these engines were also made of aluminum alloys, like the LT5. Mercury's workers built 18 engines by hand each day until November 1993. That's when GM discontinued the ZR1. Crate engines were even rarer. They were manufactured as replacements or spares for ZR1 owners. Many of them were never installed. Well, next month, Mecum Auctions hopes to cash in with a 1995 Corvette ZR1 Phase 5 engine still sealed in its original crate. The factory-sealed LT5 crate engine underscores a growing demand for standalone power plants as collectibles. Mecum has seen a surge in, quote, components collectibles, as enthusiasts are increasingly bidding on rare transmissions, engines, and even factory tools. Recent sales of LT5 engines have fetched up to $50,000. Now, this LT5 in particular, currently known as Lot S27, made the idea of a Corvette supercar a reality and will go to the highest bidder on Saturday, January 17th, 2026. Jeff, the LT5 debuted as a, quote, technological marvel and really helped reestablish Corvette as a market leader. What are your thoughts on the potential risks and benefits of these cross-industry collaborations? Because this really helped GM and Lotus, make a name, not make a name, but like make a mark on automotive history.
Yeah, it's interesting, when you see two very different automotive manufacturers like Lotus and GM work together on something like that, but it also signifies, I guess it can go either way. If it didn't work out, it was going to be desperate. It did work out, so it's more innovative and out-of-the-box thinking. So,
yeah.
It's sort of history can be 20/20 that way. But I think it's admirable that a company as big as GM would look for help, essentially from a design perspective, and then even going beyond that and working with Mercury to actually have the motors manufactured.
Yeah.
So pretty amazing there that they were able to have those collaborations versus very diverse manufacturing partners and design partners. So interesting to see that, and obviously it worked out pretty well. I think the other thing that I took away from this story is, first of all, looking at the images for the auction site where it actually is still in like the wooden crate.
Yeah,
is
right off the truck,
pretty
man.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And it just got me wondering a little bit. Corvette is one of those brands, and we've talked about it before, the value of this brand and how it just continues to sort of hold on. There's still just this collective out there that is enthused by Corvettes and other vehicles of that ilk. I just wonder how long this is going to hang on, how long this is going to last. Because when you look at some of the trends for collectible cars and the newer generations that are getting into it, it's a different class of vehicle that they're looking at. It's a lot of those like mid-'80s to mid-'90s sort of Japanese import sports cars that have a very different frame and structure. That when you look at this type of motor, I'm not even sure it would fit. Like it's such a different dynamic and a different type of vehicle that is becoming more and more collectible.
Yeah.
So it's just to see these stories, and we've talked about them before, people modifying and doing different things with a Corvette or some of the other muscle cars that have been out there. How much longer is that going to hold on?
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see.
Well, my guess for like products like this specifically and factory tools, and I'll get into it in a little bit, but I'm going to guess 25 years. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But so, Anna, I'm curious. Now, I asked Jeff about these collaborations, but like, you know, instead of collaborations, are we in the generation of like collabs now where like we're not necessarily seeing people work together on new innovation, but it's more just like, what's our reach? What's your reach? Let's collab on a total reach sort of thing. I think it's become more of like used in PR and marketing as to where it could be like brain power, so to speak.
Like when we got those cupcakes sent to us that were made out of sun chips.
Yes. Like that very interesting.
Yeah.
And yet not the greatest cupcake possible.
Yeah, I didn't even try them. I was too afraid.
It wasn't I've had worse collabs. But yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a really interesting story to me as well because I had no idea that there was a popularity to this components collectibles. Like that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Especially the part about the enthusiasts who are increasingly bidding on factory tools.
Yeah.
Like what is increasingly bidding on factory tools?
So
it means like one person did it last year and then two people did it this year?
I don't know. Like I could see it becoming an emerging market, however temporarily.
So I do think that automotive is like the place for it. You know, people get super juiced about like whatever their favorite vehicle brand is, or especially this really rare stuff, and that being still on the pallet, that's pretty amazing. And then if you add to it this, I'm sure that there's collectors of like vintage marine as well.
Yeah.
So now that you pair those together, you probably have like a serviceable audience here. But what I thought was really interesting was like, you know, looking at how auctions function in an economy. And I had like never knew this before, but apparently when the economy is troubled or the stock market is fluctuating, auctions do the best.
Really?
And that's because they're generally immune to these types of economic conditions. People start investing in other products that they think have long-term value instead of the traditional stock market. So you see things like luxury goods, like jewelry and gold and you know all kinds of stuff. People are investing in. Automotive is one of them. Yeah, which is very interesting to think about. That like you know because I was looking at this like I was like January of 26. Like everyone is like on pins and needles right now. It's the holidays. Like also, so I just everyone's like, what's going to happen next?
Just blown the budget on Christmas.
Right. So then I'm like, is that a great time to put this out there and fetch a price for it? But maybe it is. I don't know. It's the word on automotive stuff is that like this, the more rare it is in automotive, the more it appreciates over time. Mm-hmm. So for this, I mean, maybe it will, but I agree with you. I think like there has to be, maybe we're threading the needle on it now. And then there has to be a point where the muscle car thing is just not
appealing.
Yeah, you don't people are not going to have those memories of their grandpa's car or their dad's car or whatever. That's just generationally going to shift away.
Yeah. Maybe. No, it won't be muscle cars. It won't be this engine. While this engine will still hold value and eventually wind up in a museum, I do think it's interesting, how people buy art, and other they buy this engine to put in their foyer or something. I think that's wild to me. And
foyer
on their, how we each have a rare collectible engine in our foyers, you guys.
Yeah.
And I just before, I just want to say, I've said it before, but auctions are so much fun. And man, especially if you have a competitive / addictive personality, to just start throwing that hand up and not worrying about cost, just having a ceiling and then smashing through it and just it doesn't matter what it takes. I'm bringing it home. I'm not saying that this is an experience I've had. I'm just saying I've heard from stories. This is how it could sometimes go. But I do see this increasing interest in factory tools like kind of seems to really check out with the average age of the workforce and the retiring workforce. Because what do you see at auctions? You see a bunch of people who are looking for a new hobby, something to do. They're collectors of a very specific thing. And right now we're seeing a lot of people age out of the manufacturing workforce looking for collectible relics of their prime. And a lot of that equipment right now is aging out and being replaced. And so I think right now it's going to be an interesting time for those types of tools. And it's also a great opportunity to build your own shop. Like I know multiple people who have retired from the manufacturing industry. And if you go to the garage, if you go to their shop out back, like a lot of it is filled with otherwise retired equipment that they still use to, do their own, to tinker around the house. And so I do see it being a really interesting cross-section of this interest in factory tools. And I see it, like I said, people that are retiring now, recently retired, maybe another 20, 25 years where there's interest there. And then who knows once it fades out, like what's the thing, when people start collecting Cybertrucks, well, I guess people will start collecting those pretty soon. But you know what I mean? Like it changes. And I just think that I have not been to a factory tool collector's auction, but I'm going to look it up. I don't know. It's maybe it's not your cup of tea, Jeff, but don't you see
it's very niche.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing that, no, I mean, depends. Again, auctions, I've not been to an auction in I don't know how long, and I don't miss them. I don't share your enthusiasm for it.
You just got to get back in the game, Jeff.
But, looking at factory tools, those have a function to them. This is something when you buy a $50,000 engine or whatever this thing is going to go for, I guess it can be a showpiece. Yeah. That's a very limited number of people who are going to fork that out. There's also people potentially who'd want to plug this into something. I've seen these engines used in boats. People put these ridiculous motors on boats. Again, you're limiting, and it just feels like your audience is getting narrower and narrower.
Oh, yeah.
With all of this stuff to the point where it's going to go away.
Well,
now when you expand it beyond like factory tools or any of this other stuff, yes, obviously that's a little bit broader, and not as expensive. So there's more opportunity there, I guess.
I mean, that's just a representative of like the crush of time, is that everything becomes collectible until the estate eventually donates it to whatever appropriate museum and takes the write-off. But I mean, that's just what happens.
So are we going to buy like a really old-ass BlackBerry someday because it brings us back to our early years in the industry?
Like laptops, a floppy disk, a zip drive.
Zip drive.
A zip drive would be good. But I mean, already to that point, like I have a mild interest in old VCRs. Just because.
Of course
David.
you do.
I don't have a lot. I see it's completely manageable. It's a functional thing. But like I enjoy that. The boys and I went in the basement and watched Frosty the Snowman on VHS, and it's just I love like teaching them where they're like, "This is a movie." I'm like, "Yeah," and then they go to put it in backwards. I'm like, "No, because the movie's on the tape," and they're like, "Tape? Like you used to make presents?" And I'm like, "No. It's
let me show you."
Yeah, but it's just it's more of a personality quirk than a habit.
Did you show them? Be kind, please rewind.
I did. I showed them how I actually have a rewinder too. So you take it out, put it in the rewinder. So when you put in Alvin and the Chipmunks Christmas or Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol,
it's ready for you.
Yeah. Ready to go. Our most popular story this week, milk recalled over potential contamination with, quote, cleaning agents. Prairie Farms is a dairy cooperative based out of Illinois. Last month, the company recalled hundreds of gallons of milk over concerns that they could be contaminated with, quote, food-grade cleaning agents. In a notice posted by the FDA, Prairie Farms said it was, quote, made aware of a potential quality issue involving select gallons of fat-free milk, and they were notified on November 24th. The recalled gallons were produced at a plant in Dubuque, Iowa, and distributed at Woodman's grocery stores in Wisconsin and Illinois. The cooperative said that only about 320 of the gallons were sold before the issue was discovered. The notice did not indicate whether any illnesses or injuries related to the recall had been reported, In a statement, the company said, quote, Prairie Farms is working in partnership with regulatory authorities and Woodman's Markets to fully investigate the matter and comply with all necessary recall procedures. Anna, this one is so close to home that we actually have friends of friends that had this milk in their fridge. I mean, is this just another reminder to rinse and repeat when it comes to cleaning industrial equipment?
Well, yes. I mean, yes, of course.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. I mean, this is sold in our communities. This is the supplier of the milk cartons to my kids' schools.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like,
same, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it really was like, oh, and it's kind of horrifying when you consider. So I know they went out of their way to say that this is a food grade cleaning agent, but like, what does that mean? That just means that like it's formulated to be non-toxic. You can use it for cleaning equipment, but it's not supposed to go in the food. Like, you're not supposed to drink it. Like, it's still toxic for you to do so. Mm-hmm. I just think like, I'm glad that I know that they're trying to like probably minimize people freaking out, but still like a cleaning agent, that's like a big deal.
Yeah. For me, food grade cleaning agent came off more as not like, oh, it should be easier on you if you ingest it. It was more like, no, it's more intense because it's got to like strip everything out.
Jeff? Yeah, I'm with Ann on this one. You kind of missed that, but
okay.
But anyway, regardless of how you take food grade, the one thing I noticed as like being maybe like a positive in the end. I know this was not a great story for Prairie Farms, is that what it's called? But that they were able to pinpoint this before only like 300 or so gallons were actually sold. Mm-hmm. So if you look at this company, it's huge. They have 47 manufacturing facilities. They have 100 distribution centers. They kind of boast the fact that they're so vertically integrated that they're literally farm to table. Mm-hmm. They have this product all the way through that production process, the distribution process, until it gets to the store shelves or the schools or whatever. So not every food business, of course, is built to do that. Right. I think that the fact that they are so vertically integrated probably made it easier for them to pinpoint where this went wrong and to get the lot numbers and trace that right away and get it recalled back. Yeah. Of course, this is like a very expensive proposal for any company. This is not what they want. But it's good that they were able to track this down right away before damage was anything beyond this minimal couple hundred of gallons, because they sell a ton of milk.
They sell a ton of milk, and it's in my fridge. Like, if I didn't have kids, we would, and as a result, we have 2% milk in the fridge. It would probably be skim. But the other point of this is, I mentioned that friends of our friends ran into this problem. And I'll say that the one thing that seemed, I guess, better is that the contamination was so bad that as soon as they took the cap off, they were like, whoa, that's like bleach.
They knew. Wow. Yeah.
So, Jeff, when you look at this story, is this the type of situation that, kind of leaves a sour taste in your mouth?
Jeff, are you there?
David. I'll get on my blocking and tackling soapbox for this one. I think that's what this really comes down to, not taste. I just think whenever we have these types of stories, I just think about in another life. I worked on a magazine that went to surgeons and OR supervisors and people like that. And for every type of surgical type of procedure, there is an actual physical checklist that they run through, and they have to check off and sign on every little thing. Now, I know in manufacturing, all of this is part of a workflow, and I'm sure it is here. And this isn't a repeating or cyclical thing that continues to be an issue for Prairie Farms. But in this instance, you just feel like if they took that second to have a checklist, somebody signing off on the fact that they rinsed out the equipment before running more milk through it, you avoid these things. And it's not just 320 gallons of milk doesn't sound like a lot, but it's more than that. It's everything that was run through during this batch that they had to go back and get. It's all the cost associated with that. It's the stress that's put on these partnerships with their retailers and distributors. It's the bad notoriety and bad press. I mean, this is just a black hole sucking out time and money and resources when you have to deal with this recall, no matter what scale it is. Yeah. And all of that, again, goes back to check a box.
Yeah.
Cleaned out the equipment. We're ready to go. And that's hard in a manufacturing environment because it's all about uptime and workflow and getting things out the door. But we do have to remember that extra step, the benefits to doing it. I think this is a case study on making that happen.
Well, and the other thing is, what do we often see with recalls? Like, it starts small because they are able to pinpoint it. And then sometimes, like the, was it ByHeart, the ByHeart infant formula? I mean, that recall has now spread to every product, you know, and it started with just like, oh, no, just a small lot. And I'm happy to report that, okay, so basically, no cleaning agents are meant to be ingested. Kind of all bad across the board.
Correct.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that basically food grade is not edible. It's kind of just like, it means that it's designed to be used on food grade equipment.
That's what I just said.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, yeah, no, completely. I was just like, whoa, like, is there a real difference? And it's just like, no, all bad, not for consumption.
Correct.
Yeah.
Mainly because it's all stainless steel equipment. That's the big thing.
Completely understand. I just, wanted to look into it. Just dip into it. Dip my toes into the information a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
Take a bite. Take a bite. See how it tastes.
I mean, no. Seriously, I don't know if you heard the story, but it sounded like it was pretty heinous. Like, crack the cap and just kind of hit with it. All right. Well, before we jump into In Case You Missed It, we have a word from our sponsor. This week's episode is brought to you by Blumira. Manufacturing continues to be the most highly targeted sector when it comes to cybersecurity attacks. Hackers are getting smarter, and the key to combating these ongoing and evolving threats is understanding them. The good news is that the good guys are getting better at spotting the bad guys and showing you how to fight back. So, watch this short new video, Manufacturing's Most Concerning Cybersecurity Trends, to learn about the latest hacking, like how supply chains and logistics services are coming under fire, and how you can negate these vulnerabilities. So download Manufacturing's Most Concerning Cybersecurity Trends right now. There is a link to it in the live chat. There's a link to it in the body copy. All right, in case you missed it. The story is that maybe weren't as popular on our websites, but could still make a big impact on the industry going forward. So the story I picked was kind of a continuation and an update from In Case You Missed It that I had a couple of weeks ago. Maybe last week, I'm not sure on time here. So I picked the story, Hadrian, to build AI-powered production cell at a Lockheed missile factory. So Lockheed Martin and Hadrian Automation, which is a California startup focused on building AI-powered factories, have entered into an agreement to add advanced manufacturing capabilities at a Lockheed Martin missiles and fire control site. Hadrian will deploy its factory-as-a-service model at this site, including a scalable machining and inspection cell, all to produce parts for Lockheed. The flexible production cell has CNC machines, advanced robotics, and the company's manufacturing execution platform. The cell should increase the production rate of a variety of machine parts for missile products. The partners hope to create a more resilient and responsive production ecosystem, one that becomes more capable as demands grow and challenges emerge. So, I picked this story because of the idea of factories as a service. Basically, Hadrian has this business model where it's like, you tell us what you want, you tell us the space that you have, and we're going to build it for you. Hadrian thinks that this factories as a service model will allow defense contractors like Lockheed and other industries to really scale factories to meet existing or new demand for parts, assemblies, or entire products. I mean, these factories are designed to go online in less than 6 months, all creating more resilient supply chains, advancing new industrial jobs, and creating and developing and making mission control components faster than some legacy manufacturing systems can deliver. So, Jeff, I don't know if you had a chance to check this out or if you're familiar with this idea of factories as a service. Everything's as a service now, even the factory, and that's pretty wild to me.
Well, I think that's just a change in terminology. I mean, we've had contract manufacturing for a long time, and there's a lot of automation companies that offer this same type of service.
Yeah.
They just don't maybe emphasize the AI element of it.
But like on the plant? So like a contract manufacturer inside of Lockheed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there are other folks that do this type of thing. I think what's really novel here is the time period that they're looking to implement this.
Yeah.
As far as, and also reinforcing the element of artificial intelligence to help expedite those timelines.
Yeah.
I think that's not a one size fits all. I think, and I can appreciate where Hadrian is coming from. I'm not beating them up. They're trying to sell their service, which makes all the sense in the world. I think this is one of those instances where Lockheed is a great case study for this type of product.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's important, okay? We're talking about missile defense here, but it's not a something that's everyday use by everyone across. That's what the scale is different.
Yeah, it's high mix or low volume. Yeah.
Right. So I think it's a good way to test some of this stuff out. It's also a very highly repeatable, low volume type of product.
Yeah.
So there, like I said, this is a very interesting case study for how this could work in this type of environment and hitting the timelines that they're talking about. 6 weeks is crazy.
Yeah.
That is insane.
It's insane, but it's also, I mean, we've heard more of everything as a service. And I mean, what do you think about this business model where it's just like, no, we installed the entire line and you just pay us per part?
Risky.
Yeah.
On Hadrian's part, without a doubt. I mean, that is very, to not pay for the technology, you're essentially renting the technology and paying for the output. Interesting, and like I said, it's not going to work for every model.
Yeah.
But this would be one where it could.
Yeah.
You think about medical, you think about military aerospace. Yeah, these could be areas where this could definitely help. And if we're looking at doing things in a more cost-effective way, these are great areas to do that as well.
Yep.
So ideally, and I'm not saying this will happen, if you can produce it with less cost, you should be able to pass some of that along to the end user, the customer, whatever.
Ideally.
Not always the case.
Well, I mean,
so it will be interesting to see how these timelines actually play out.
Yeah, and to your point, I thought medical device market makes a lot of sense for this. So, Anna, the reason I said that, in case you missed it, was kind of an update on a previous story. Was I don't know if you remember, but so we did the story on how Hadrian recently received $49 million in California tax credits, right? The company is targeting $52 million in investment. Took a little heat on that, like, why are we giving them almost as much money in tax credits as they're investing? Mm-hmm. But also expected to create 650 jobs in California, and it's a fast-rising company. In July, the company raised $260 million in new capital, has major expansions planned, like I said, in California and Arizona. So there is a groundswell of interest in this business model.
Yeah, I mean, and I could see like in defense where you have these big government contracts where they're constantly going like over on timeline. Maybe they see the appeal of like paying extra for this to try to speed that up for them. Mm-hmm. But I agree with Jeff. When I first read it, I was like, well, this is just like an automation company, like as an integrator building you. I'm sure that there's plenty of companies that'd be happy to like build you your own production cell. Mm-hmm. But you know,
bill as a service. Yeah.
Right. So it is like a shift in that model a bit, but
wait, you're saying that a company is using a buzzword like AI to rebrand itself, that something that already exists, sort of?
Well, and we love as a service, like creating whatever it is as a service, like is like the way you make it sound much cooler than it is, I think.
Yeah, no, it's like on our pay stub, it's going to start saying like editorial as a service.
Yeah.
Podcasting as a service.
Podcasting as a service. So if you click on the podcast, you will be served a podcast. That's how we do it.
That's how it works.
That's how you do it.
Pay per click. Oh God, no.
No.
Well, I don't know. It was just, and it was also, it was intriguing to me because of that point where it was the one company named in that, you know, there was like $100 million in tax credits that were handed out by California that took the most heat because of the investment. And so to see some kind of big news coming out of it right away, I thought was encouraging.
Yeah.
Anna, what's your in case you missed it this week?
Mine is also a bit of an update on something that we covered on the podcast not super long ago, a couple months ago. And it's about U.S. Steel resuming steel production at a shuttered Illinois plant. So U.S. Steel is going to resume making steel slabs at its Granite City Works plant in Illinois as demand rebounds. The company shut this plant down in 2023. We talked about this a couple months ago when they were also going to wind down their steel processing mill.
Yeah.
However, they reversed their stance on that, I think because the federal government said you have to continue to pay your workers even if you shut down the plant.
Yeah.
This was a very convoluted situation where the federal government has a stake in the U.S. Steel now and can make these decisions because they permitted the merger between Nippon
the golden
and
share.
U.S. Steel, the golden share. Very confusing details, but anyway. So now U.S. Steel says it's going to resume steelmaking by reopening the blast furnace it idled 2 years ago. And the CEO is citing customer demand. He has been very vocal in support of tariffs in the past. He says that steel remains a highly competitive and highly cyclical industry, but we are confident in our ability to safely and profitably operate the mill to meet 2026 demand. Demand is up for steel right now. The U.S. steel producers, I think their demand is up about 9% year over year. Analysts believe steel tariffs have been beneficial to U.S. steel companies, and then so has strong automotive production. I selected the story because, U.S. Steel has had kind of a rocky year with a lot of challenges and a lot of changes. I hope that this period of growth is sustainable for them. And that they can staff this process that has been idled for 2 years. They're really close to this Granite City Works is right near the Missouri border. It's near St. Louis. So hopefully they can kind of dip into that workforce pool. But I will say this to close. Good news for U.S. Steel now. I feel like this is still a very fluid environment, especially when it comes to the tariffs.
Yeah.
So I don't know how long this is going to be.
At least 2 years.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We don't know.
No, agreed. Like the company says it plans to invest $14 billion in U.S. operations. I'm always going to support more domestic steel production. Just want to make sure that it's all on a level playing field in a market that will sustain it long term. Now, Jeff, when you think of it sustaining long term, is that something where, maybe 2 years from now, this is everything's still going strong, or, after how long do you think they're being strong armed in reopening this? And do you think that is sustainable?
No. First of all, yeah, they absolutely are. And no, I don't know that it's sustainable.
Okay.
I think that's the biggest thing here. Yeah, we want to be happy and optimistic about this because a bunch of U.S. workers kept their jobs.
Yep.
That is a good thing. Here's where I go with it. U.S. Steel, struggling. 16 in the world when it comes to steel production. Nippon Steel, 4. Top 5 anyway. Okay, a little bit fluid there. I trust Nippon more to run a business than I do U.S. Steel or the U.S. government.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing there. So to force that company to put resources into a facility that they saw as wanting to close for operational efficiencies, product demand reasons, all of those things that we talked about before, what type of trickle effect does this have on their other operations and their ability to invest in areas that are going to help that company grow and preserve and grow jobs at these other facilities?
Yeah.
What does this do long term for, you can call them U.S. Steel, Nippon Steel, whatever you want to call that company now? I don't think the government should, essentially because they forced them to keep this open.
Yeah.
And I can't get behind that and really celebrate this the way you'd want to. I think that the demand and the tariffs, I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
But again, I think that should be isolated from this facility.
Yeah. It's just so weird to me as to how it becomes politicized based on whoever is in power, like as to whether or not it's okay to tip the scales or to put the thumb on the scale, right? Like Semiconductor Manufacturing Chips Act, bad because the previous administration tipped the scales. Every thumb on the scale in this administration, good. Yeah, it's just like we got to figure out more of a common ground when it comes to that in terms of making good decisions. That
we just keep the government out of the way. Because that's always typically been better for private business and industry to grow.
Yeah.
Just get out of the way.
I mean, I'm going to agree with you there, Jeff. What is your, in case you missed it this week?
Another story where the government's gotten involved and made things a little bit murky here.
Great.
All right. So I picked an article in Colorado, a town built on coal. Some families are moving on. And basically what this talks about is we're out in Colorado and Wyoming, and a lot of these places where they have shut down these coal mines based on not just the Biden administration, but even before that, a transition to renewable energy and like natural gas.
Yeah.
Just getting away from coal for all the reasons we know about. It's dirty, it's dangerous, it's expensive as well. That was the one thing the article brought out that I guess I didn't really focus on is how much the cost of producing and processing coal has escalated. It's really gone up significantly. So as a result, a lot of these mines are being shut down, and the individuals and the families who have a legacy in working in these industries are finding different stuff to do. But it's also creating some conflict based on things that are going on with the Trump administration and how they have supported an increase, or if you want to say, in coal use and mining. So there's one family in here, they talk about they've actually shifted. They were in oil processing, they were in coal mining, and now they're doing geothermal heat pumps. There's been some other folks in these small towns who have transitioned to different businesses. But the conflict comes in because now the administration is saying, no, we don't want to close these mines. We want to continue with coal. Wyoming, which is right on the border with Colorado, is saying, we're the number one coal state in the country. We want to keep these mines open. It's a big part of commerce for us. And there's still this huge need for electricity and power. We've talked about that with the grid numerous times. So we still need a power source as well. And in order to make the renewable stuff work, we need to invest in it. Yeah. So this puts us at this interesting crossroads. And actually, I think the person who summed it up best was a woman that they talked to, Tammy Villard. She lives in one of these local communities. She worked at a coal mine. Her husband worked at a coal mine. They opened up a different business. And she said she doesn't understand how the state, Colorado, can throw the switch to turn off coal and still have reliable electricity. She wants the state to slow down. She's not saying go away.
Yeah.
Slow it down, pump the brakes. She said political swings at the federal level, from green energy push in the last administration to doubling down on fossil fuels in this one, are not helpful.
Yeah.
The pendulum has to come back to the middle, she said. And we're so far out to either side that I don't know how we get back to that middle.
Yeah.
I think that's very, very well said, because not only are we saying in one instance, whether it was the Biden administration or others, shut down the coal stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, we're putting all this money and all this energy into renewable energy, which angered a lot of people who still depended on coal and other fossil fuels and the industry that it creates for their jobs and their livelihoods.
Yeah.
Now we're going the other way. And I think anybody who's close enough to this knows coal is not the long-term issue. There's too many problems with it, and it's highly expensive. It's extremely expensive to mine and process. So with all those things in play, but we're also cutting funding for all these renewable energy sources like windmills and solar panels and the development of all those technologies. What do those companies do? Yeah. They're also caught in flux in terms of upgrading and improving all of these types of products so that at some point they could be the answer. Yeah. So as Tammy Villard says here, we're caught in the middle, and we need a solution here. We need to get on the same page and figure out. I don't think we need to go away from fossil fuels tomorrow, but if we can find, as I always say, cleaner's better. Yeah. It doesn't matter what you're running. If you can do it cleaner, it's going to last longer, it's going to be more efficient, all those things. That's what we need to figure out, the right pace here. And when we work in the middle, we can figure it out. When we're going dramatically in either direction, it's not going to work. No, that was my biggest takeaway from this article as well, when she says slow down. Because, and we kind of alluded to it in Anna's, in case you missed it, but I feel like the more we kind of politically go back and forth, the swings become so much wilder. And we get so far off course that if there could be a way that if there is still going to be some sort of government involvement, which likely, undeniably, there always will be, that it's controlled, where it can't just be like, you have a certain trajectory, no, stop, go the other way. So this pendulum stops swinging so far back that she says, they can't find the middle anymore. And I don't know if that's too reasonable for anybody to listen to at this moment, Anna, when you were looking at this article, what were some of your thoughts? I mean, don't you feel the same way when it's just like, as there are these transitions, it's just like, could we just stay a little bit closer to the middle?
Well, I mean, things are incredibly polarized at this point in time. There's just like two distinct groups that seem to just be at war with one another at all times. But I do think this is what you get when, it used to be that each administration would want to support business. Now it's like these certain industries are political flashpoints for, one party is the oil and gas party, and one party is the electric cars party, and one party is the coal party, and it just so you tend to have these decisions being made as almost like a backlash for them being on the other side. And then to her point, if this continues to happen and administrative shifts mean that there's so much change. Like, how do businesses operate on that? Like, we talk about the tariffs as well. Like, how do businesses invest knowing that in a couple years, maybe this all changes again? You know, it's really hard to function in that environment. And that is the environment that we're in, unfortunately.
Just going from pro business to pro my business. You know?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, and to be clear, too, that technology, those advancements, that investment, that goes both ways. It's about mining in a safer, more environmentally conscious way, but it's also developing better renewable technologies as well. I mean, it goes both ways.
Well, let's jump into our final thoughts before we get out of here this week. Anna, what's your final thought?
I just wanted to mention that it's as we get close to the holidays, there's a lot of organizations in our community and in every community that are looking for help, donations, volunteers. From what I have been hearing, the need is greater every year, it seems. There's a lot of need in every community. So if you have a free hour or if, some extra dollars, I know that it really is appreciated.
Yeah.
And it really goes a long way in supporting the people in the health of your community by and large. The happier, safer, healthier, more secure community is good for everyone.
No, I couldn't agree more. Just piggybacking off of that, one part of our family, in particular, we always struggle with the exchanging names and the gift giving and the limits and what do these people want and keeping everybody happy. So this year we entertained the idea of adopting a family. And let's just say it's easy we're only talking about 6 of us, but so you say how big the family is, what you're looking to spend, and they pair you with a family. And it's just a lot easier for me to know that someone is going to be happy with the towels and the Barbie that I buy them. And it's going to be truly life-changing than as to whether or not, my brother-in-law likes Malort, because that was a huge swing and miss for his birthday this year. Just like it was, I got him a Malort advent calendar because it's a great gift if you have any idea what Malort is. If you don't, A, you have no idea about it. And then B, once you try it, you're like, oh, he truly hates me.
That does sound like a horrible gift.
Yeah, I know. But see, if you know what Malort is, you'd at least laugh about it and be like, you're going to do this with me. Otherwise.
If anybody wants a good laugh, just Google Malort advertising. That will make you laugh this afternoon.
Or that Malort calendar. Whew, that is a winner. My final thought this week is just that we're putting together some marketing materials for the podcast next year. And we'd like to know a little bit more about who you are, what the podcast means to you, how long you've been listening, and what you like about it. So if you could email us some of your thoughts, we could either just use them as they are. We don't have to put your name on them at all. But we're just curious to know what the podcast means to you. So you could email them to me, Jeff, or Anna at IEN.com. It would really help us out a lot. I know that you guys have been really supportive in terms of leaving us 5-star reviews on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and the other platforms. If you could send us just some of your thoughts, it could go a long way in helping support the podcast next year. Jeff, your final thought this week.
Well, we got a little bit of snow last couple of weeks here in Wisconsin. And, that makes you, I don't know, my wife and I, we get a little comfortable. You don't want to go out as much. It's cold, snow, all that kind of stuff. So sometimes you look for different things to entertain you. And one of the things we did is we let the cat go out in the snow. Wanted to go outside so bad. So just for our own, didn't throw them, didn't do anything mean.
Oh, yeah.
Just open the door, go for it. That was hilarious. Just like the trepid paw step.
And then did he just sink?
Sinks down. Does not know what to do, and he's looking back at you like, I'm like, hey, you want to go out there?
Yeah.
You're the one who's meowing at me, so here you go.
Did he come back?
Oh, yeah, he came quickly.
Okay.
Managed. I mean, this is where you kind of appreciate cats because he found a ledge and just kind of walked on that and just looked up as we got in and did one of those and does not beg to go out in the snow anymore.
Yep.
But it was entertaining on a slow Saturday stuck at home. So.
Man, I cannot second that anymore. We did that with our old cat, just is always trying to get outside, even sneak outside. And so one time it was just like, fine, go. And you're right. You see the steps with the slowly on top and then pushing down through. And then Frankie got about 5 steps and then just sat there and just started meowing so loud. Come back at me!
You had to rescue
Oh,
Frankie.
yeah. Frank's was done. Just wouldn't even move. Just frozen, head all the way back. So yes, that is great advice for a slow
entertaining,
Saturday.
yes.
All right. Well, before we get out of here, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You could also help us out a lot by leaving the podcast a positive review on whatever platform you use. If you want to email the podcast with thoughts on what the podcast means to you, please reach any of us at Jeff, Anna, or David with email the podcast in the subject line. That's Jeff, David, or Anna at IEN.com with email the podcast in the subject line. You could also subscribe to our daily newsletter. Make sure you get it delivered to your inbox first, and subscribe to us on YouTube at IEN Magazine to make sure you can join us live every Thursday now that everyone's back to normal. All right, for Jeff Reinke and Anna Wells, I'm David Manti. This is the Today in Manufacturing podcast, and we will see you next week.